Oh, thanks.
We're rolling.
I think we're onto something.
How long does the battery last? How long does the battery last? Longer than you. Okay. It's down about a spot. Good evening and welcome. Voices from the Prairie and the Bureau County Republican have partnered this evening to enable us to learn more about two questions that we will be voting on in the upcoming election. I'm Stephanie Van Ortstrand on behalf of Voices from the Prairie, and my partner is editor Jim Dunn from the Bureau County Republican. We will be sharing moderators' duties throughout the evening. Voices is a grassroots organization that believes that the most important elements of good citizenship are to support and promote open, ethical, and fair governance, and to that end, there's no more important voice than that of the well-informed, involved citizenry. We do not endorse or promote any one candidate, but welcome the opportunity to provide a venue for all candidates to speak about the goals and visions of their campaigns. We will also be holding a forum for the City Council election that will be on Saturday, March 16th at 10 a.m. here at the library. Tonight's event is one in a continuing series of pre-election events that we hope ensure that when we vote, we do so with factual and pertinent information. This forum is being taped, as were all of our previous events, and are available for viewing through the Voices YouTube or the link on our Facebook site. And now, Jim.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. I'd also like to welcome everyone to tonight's candidate forum. The BCR is pleased to partner with Voices from the Prairie in co-sponsoring this event. Before we get started, I would just like to extend my thanks to the candidates, Joel Quiram and Ray Swanson, for stepping forward and giving the voters of Princeton a choice on Election Day. But please join me in giving them a round of applause. I second Stephanie's remarks about the importance of a well-informed citizenry, particularly when election time rolls around. I applaud these candidates for participating in tonight's forum. Their presence here shows their desire to help inform Princeton voters of their qualifications for elective office, their stands on the issues, and their goals if elected. Your presence here tonight shows your desire to learn about these candidates and issues in order to make an informed vote on or before April 2nd. With that, I'll turn it back over to Stephanie.
Thank you, Jim. Tonight, we will begin with a presentation by City Manager Rachel Skaggs regarding the sales tax referendum that is on the ballot on April 2nd. Please help me in welcoming Rachel Skaggs.
Okay, thank you. My name is Rachel Skaggs. Like she said, I'm going to be giving you a presentation. Gotta get organized here. On the 1/4% sales tax referendum that is on the ballot April 2nd for city streets. Do I have to use this?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Sorry. I just got to figure out my hands here. So anyway, I have a bunch of slides. I have about 20 copies here, but this will also be on the city's website. And you can email me if you want a copy of it, and I will email it to you. So with that, we will get started. So just some information on the current road conditions of the city. So we maintain about 59.3 miles of roadways within the city limits. And obviously, as most of you probably know, the city has a significant number of roads that are in poor or very poor condition. And the cost of road maintenance increases significantly over time when roads are allowed to deteriorate beyond the fair condition. So a large portion of the city's road network was installed more than 20 years ago. And typically roads last about 20 years. So a lot of sections of roads in the city are due for rehabilitation. Sorry, I'm flipping my pages and not yours. The typical pavement deterioration curve, this just shows you a typical summary of what it would, or a typical curve of what it looks like when you let the roads deteriorate. So if you look, I think most of our roads are probably in this area, and typically those cost significantly more. So I think the goal of this referendum and going forward is to fix and maintain the roads so that they don't get to where they are right now. The next topic I want to touch on is motor fuel tax funds. A lot of times I hear people say, well, why doesn't the city just use MFT funds to fix their roads? But I think there's some important things that we need to know about MFT funds and how they work. So I'm kind of going to read each of these bullet points because I think they're very important. So MFT revenue is calculated based on gallons sold. As the price of gas goes up and down, the MFT amount remains consistent. So regardless of what the price, well, that's the next point, regardless of whether or not you're paying $20 or $4 per gallon, the road fund is receiving the same amount of funding from MFT. So combined state and federal gas taxes equals approximately 37.4 cents per gallon. This includes the state 19 cents and federal 18.4 cents, and then there's also a 2.5 cents per gallon on diesel fuel. A portion of the MFT collected by the state of Illinois is then distributed per capita on a per capita basis, so population to counties and municipalities. So that point is really important because the city of Princeton only receives revenue based on our population. Doesn't matter how many gallons or how much the fuel is, we receive money based on our population. And the use is restricted for maintenance of roads and bridges. So, you know, thinking back about receiving that revenue on population, if you think about a denser area that probably has less miles of streets, but their population is significantly more, they're going to receive more revenue. So it doesn't go by how many streets you have, it's what your population is. I think that's really important to remember. So the next slide I have here, so the city receives about $180,000 to $190,000 per year annually through MFT, motor fuel tax funds. In 2009, the city fixed a bunch of roads and took out debt through the MFT fund to fix those roads. So that debt is currently being paid out of MFT, and that should stay until 2021. And that's about $95,000 per year. So, and then recently, the city, as most of you know, is going to rebuild Euclid Avenue. That was a long-coming project. And that project is partially federally funded, but we also have a local share, and that will come out of our MFT account as well and take over that debt that will come off in 2021. So the MFT fund can also be used for regular street maintenance, salt, supplies, etc. So some years we have used it for salt as well. So when you look at this graph, if you look at like 2018, 19, and 20, as you can see, the debt amount is about half of what we're receiving in MFT. So if you think about that, that leaves the city with about $90,000 to $100,000 left in their MFT fund. And if you think about what that can do for a street, it would maybe do a quarter of a mile, not even. So that's just important to remember, and we'll touch on that a little more. So past street expenses. Over the last 3 years, the city has been aggressive in trying to complete street repairs. As we know, there's a lot to be done. We have rehabilitated about 15,000 feet of roadways, and the total cost for that is about $800,000. So kind of breaking this down into a per mile cost, it's approximately $57 per foot or $302,000 per mile. However, keep in mind some streets had curbs and gutters, some didn't, so that's just to give you an approximate. So if we were to repair all 59.3 miles of city roadway, assuming the current amount over the last 3 years, like I said, $302,000, it cost the city $18.14 million. And if we continue to only spend about $200 to $300 a year, which is what we've been doing, we'd be on a 90-year replacement cycle. And I put yikes because I think we all know the roads aren't going to last for 90 years. So we have to think about what we can do moving forward. The next topic I want to go into is the general fund, because the other question I get a lot is why can't the general fund absorb the cost of street maintenance? So I want to talk about that a little bit. The general fund consists of police, fire, street, and administration. And there's a lot of expenses in that fund that in those funds that continue to rise. And a lot of the revenue has remained stagnant or declined. So I'll touch on those a little bit. For instance, telecommunication tax continues to decrease. Property tax has remained the same for the city, but a larger portion has been going to our police and fire pensions, which I'm going to get to in a minute. Our local share of the income tax was reduced by the state a few years ago, and then the state also now takes the sales tax administration fee from our sales tax. So some of our revenue, like I said, has been stagnant or declining, and some of the expenses continue to increase. The city has, over the last couple of years, looked at different options to cut expenses, and I list some of them here. I don't want to go into too much detail, but I can if you want me to. We've reduced our number of employees, we've joined in joint purchasing, we've done revenue and phone audits, we send out RFPs to look at costs, we've hired a different landfill engineer that saved us money, we sold the transfer station, an insurance consortium. There's a lot of other things, and we'll continue to do those as well. So the next topic is property taxes, and before I go through that, I want to just show this is our EAB over the last several years, and as you can tell, the EAB has remained pretty much the same for the last at least 7 years, and this then affects the property taxes, which is on the next slide. So this is the Bureau County property tax rates. The city of Princeton is at the bottom here in the red. This also includes the library, library retirement, and library bond. So if you were to take those out, the city's is about 0.94 cents. But you have the city's rate and the libraries at the bottom, like I said, then the Park District, IVCC, the high school, the grade school, Princeton Township, and the county. So that kind of stacks where all the property tax revenue is going. And less than 10% of that then is the city's portion, like I said, which is down there in red. And of that, of the portion of property tax revenue that the city receives, wrong way, go towards our police and fire pensions. Additionally, this last levy that we passed, which will affect our upcoming budget, we were required to contribute about $200,000 more into our police and fire pensions per the Department of Insurance, and that leaves us with about $200,000 less in our, that would have went into the general fund that's now going to the police and fire pension funds. Whoops, I keep going the wrong way. So this chart here shows the property tax revenue going into the general fund, and as you can see, that decrease from 2018 to 2020. So the next couple slides, and I just want to thank really quickly because he's here, and he probably doesn't want me to, but Bob Davidson is our city treasurer, and we've been looking at the pensions, and he's been helping with some of this, and I really appreciate his help. But obviously something has to happen in regards to police and fire pensions. I'm going to give you a summary of some of the liabilities and things that you'll see in the next few slides. The state is working on a reform for that, and there'll be more to come on that. I'm not going to get into all that tonight, but I do want to give you a summary of where the city's police and fire pensions are. So this is the fireman fund, assets and liabilities. You'll see liabilities, assets, and then the unfunded, obviously, all increasing at various levels. Oops, keep going on. This is the police fund, assets and liabilities. Same thing, liabilities, assets, and unfunded. This chart here is important. So this shows active liabilities and inactive. So those that are active compared to those that are inactive employees in the fund. I'm going to kind of breeze through these because there's quite a few, but we can come back if you have any questions. Same thing with the police fund liabilities, active and inactive. This next chart here, this shows the property tax. So like I said, the property tax rate hasn't increased, but the amount we're contributing into the pension funds is increasing based on the Department of Insurance actuarial numbers. So this shows the property tax, as you can see that red line, the contributions that are going into that fund, the benefits, and then the investment income, obviously, based on the market trends there. And then same thing for the police pension. So like I said, I have copies of this, and it'll be online if you want to look at these a little more, because I know that's a lot of information to look at quickly. These two charts here, they look kind of small now that they're up there, just show the active and inactive members of the funds. And as you can see for the fireman fund, now they're more inactive than active, and then police will be there soon as well. So that's another issue we have to look into. This is the percent funded. This amount comes from the Department of Insurance. This is the fireman's police fund, or fireman's pension fund, sorry. And then this is the police percentage for the unfunded. So when looking at that, the point of going through all that is, like I said, a large portion of the city's property tax revenue is continuing to go to fund our police and fire pensions, and we are working on a solution to that. But tonight we're talking about the sales tax. Let me get to where I am. Okay, so when you look at a sales tax, the current sales tax rate is 7.25%. With the proposed city's 1/4% and the counties that was already approved, the 0.5%, the new rate would be 8%. So breaking that down even lower, you have 1% that would go to the county, 0.75 to the city, and then 6.25 to the state, of which they give us 1%, but then they take 0.02% of that for their administrative fee. It gets a little confusing. And then qualifying food and drug is at 1%, and vehicle is at 6.25. So next, we want to look at sales tax rates compared to other communities. So if this 1/4% were to go forward, our sales tax, like I said, would rise from 7.75 to 8%. When you look at surrounding communities, some of them have similar rates. LaSalle and Peru are at 7.5. Geneseo and Kewanee are 8.25. And that information came from the state's website. So who would pay for this? Just kind of a summary of how much this 1/4% would cost. So over 70% would be paid by non-residents. When you look at a $10 soccer ball, it would cost you 2 cents more with the 1/4 cent sales tax. When you look at a $100 blender, that would cost you 1/4 more. When you look at a $500 television, it would cost you $1.25 more. So I want to talk a little bit about the city's plan. The city over the last 3 years has worked with Clint in the street department and our city engineer to lay out a 25-year street plan. So prioritizing all of the roads within the city by priority and kind of putting them on a list for the next 25 years. So we have done that. 10 years of that program is available on the city's website, and I have the rest. If you want to get that information, you can. And you know, it takes into curbs and gutters and all that kind of stuff, and it puts a dollar amount to each of those. So this 1/4% sales tax referendum would allow the city to complete 10 years of that program within 5 years. So it's estimated that it would bring in approximately $280,000 based on today's numbers, so not assuming any increases. So about $3 million over 10 years, and it would allow for, I put approximately, because it depends on you know, curbs and gutters and everything else, but approximately 20 miles of road improvements. The wording that's on the referendum is below, and I'll just read it quickly. Shall the corporate authorities of the City of Princeton, Bureau County, Illinois be authorized to increase the non-home rule municipal retailers occupation tax and non-home rule municipal service occupation tax, commonly referred to as municipal sales tax, levy from a rate of 1/2%, so 0.5, which is what we currently are at, to 3/4 of 1%, 0.75, for the purpose of expenditure on public infrastructure. The city also passed an ordinance with this the approved ordinance has a 10-year sunset clause, meaning that the council has to remove the sales tax in 10 years. So the next question that I often get is, how do you know it will be spent on roads? So the state statute basically says any additional sales tax imposed by a non-home rural municipality must be collected for public infrastructure improvements. In addition, all this information is in our city budget, which is transparent and on the city website, and all council meetings are always open to the public and on the city's website the day after the meeting. So I just put together some other FAQs, and I'll go over these quickly. So as you know, this sales tax, it says, will it affect my property taxes? No. Will this money help bail out the state of Illinois' debt? No. I'm now paying for sales tax on my online purchases. I get this question a lot, so won't that help Princeton's road projects? So while online companies such as Amazon collect state of Illinois sales tax, their municipal sales tax are not being collected from that. So just the states. If this proposal passes, will the city ask for another sales tax increase in the future? So as a non-home rural municipality, we can only have an additional 1%, so this would bring us to 0.75. So my property taxes pay for road improvements, as we talked about, over 75%, probably closer to 80% of property tax revenue is going to our police and fire pensions. The new tax rate, if approved, would take effect January of 2020, and then who pays for this? Everyone who uses our retailers pays for this. So that is all I have, but I will also mention that any questions that people have related to this can email newstreets@princeton-io.com, and all those questions will be posted on our website with the answers. So that's like one place to go to ask your questions, and we'll post that information, and then that's where it's all posted. There's the website link, and then there's my phone number and extension. So that's my presentation. Do I have time for questions? You do. Okay, so if there's any questions, I would be happy to answer those.
I have one, Rachel.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about, of course, we're talking about the road repairs, what happens to if we have to replace any infrastructure underneath that road?
Yes, so we would coordinate that together, obviously, because, you don't want to repair a road and then a couple years later come back and, have to tear up the road to fix the infrastructure. So that would all be coordinated together.
And is there enough buffer in this sales tax to accommodate any of those adjustments?
So like sewer improvements would come from the sewer fund, so that would be, that would come from that fund. But like storm sewer would come from the sales tax, because that would be out of the streets. But yeah, we would want to look at all of those things.
Any other questions?
How many miles of road did you say there were in Princeton?
59.3 that we're responsible for.
So in 10 years, it'll only be a third of the streets repaired?
Right, and we've done a lot over the last 3 years, but yeah, this approximately, it depends. And obviously if the sales tax increases, I just kept it flat at what we're receiving today. So if sales tax increased over the next 10 years, it would bring in more revenue too. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. We will take a minute or two to allow the candidates to come forward and take their seats. In the meantime, we do have the opportunity for audience participation questions. Jim and I will be reading those, so if you'd like to submit questions for candidates after they do the presentations, then please see Carolyn over there, and she will hand you pen and paper. Gentlemen? There is a chair up here too, if someone would like to have a seat.
There's one over here.
And we have two along this wall. So please come on in and make yourself comfortable. I don't know if you can hear, there's a couple chairs over here and one up front here too. So there are seats available.
One right here.
Secondary market.
There are seats over here. Anyway, again, thank you, Rachel. And we'll start off then with the next part of the evening, which is the mayoral candidate forum. We are all aware how difficult it can be to run for office. It is incredibly important, in order for all of us to succeed, that there are people who are willing to put themselves into the public eye. It is even more important that we respect them and each other in the process. Tonight we welcome the candidates vying for Princeton Mayor, current Mayor Joel Quiram, and City Council Member Ray Swanson. We will begin with each candidate having 5 minutes to present themselves and why they are running for office. Afterwards, we coordinated a series of questions that were presented to the candidates. There are about 5 that we would like to start the evening with. And after that, then we will alternately read the submitted audience questions. The only requirement for public questions is that they must be able to be asked of both candidates. So please take a moment again to submit those questions, and we will get them, and as time allows, we will get to as many as we can. So anyway, with no further ado, introduce Mayor Quiram and Councilman Swanson. Thank you for joining us this evening. Okay, actually we did not flip a coin. I was going to say a number between 1 and 10. Ray, you want to have to start?
Good evening. I would like to thank the Voices from the Prairie, the VCR, and Princeton Library here for having this here tonight. And I'd like to thank you all for making it out on this nice, cold, getting close to spring day to join us. My name is Ray Swanson. I'm running for mayor. I'm 43 years old, a lifelong resident of Princeton, and I have had the opportunity to previously serve on the city council and currently have served the last 2 years on the council. Together, my wife Sherry and I own Swanson Construction and the studio here in Princeton. We have 2 sons, Augustus, who is 10, and Alistair, who is 9. They both keep us on their toes with their various sports, activities, and involvement in the city. As a family, we love Princeton and are proud to call it home. I'm running for mayor because I believe I'm a fair, respectable leader. I feel I'm well respected by the city employees and the people of Princeton. I am dedicated and committed to continuing to make Princeton a great place to live, raise a family, work, and enjoy retirement. My leadership style is by the team approach. I've had the opportunity to be an assistant wrestling coach for Tigertown Tanglers for the last several years. Coaching is a job of teaching technique, teaching confidence, teaching how to be goal-oriented, being a listener to your team, and being a role model. As a mayor, I plan on being a coach. We achieve together, and when things don't go as planned, we correct together. Several things I would like us to look at as a city council team. The first item would be to take a hard look at taxes we already have intact and how to capitalize on those taxes. Just one idea may be a possible new vehicle rebate program, which would act as an incentive on buying a new automobile here in Princeton. A major purchase like a new car amounts to a lot of tax money, all which helps our city when you buy right here in Princeton. This is just one idea. Secondly, reinstating the city revolving loan fund, a fund that is loaned out for new and existing businesses at a low interest rate and paid back over a set amount of time. The fund then self-revolves as the loans are paid back and allowing money to be loaned back out. This is a long-time city program that has been very beneficial to numerous existing and startup businesses of all sizes. This fund has not been in place for the last 3 years. Finding ways to be aggressive towards economic development is another point I'd like to look at. Maybe we need to reach out more directly to companies that we feel we have fit for. Maybe we create a pamphlet with our available building sites, community info, resources we offer, etc. to send to these businesses. I think this could be a great marketing tool for the city of Princeton.
Well, I gave a State of the City address a couple of weeks ago, and I have a story to tell. So what I've done, that took me about 12 minutes to get through, but I've condensed it to get it into 5 minutes. So I'm going to read fast, present quickly, and but first, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Joel Quiram. I am the current mayor of Princeton. A little bit about myself. After 33 years, I retired from State Farm Insurance last July. I now work part-time at the Ace Distribution Center, keep myself busy. I have a Bachelor of Arts degree from Western Illinois University. I'm a past member of the Princeton JCs and a current Knights of Columbus. I've been involved in coaching my son's youth soccer team, t-ball team, traveling basketball team, as a member of the city council, and this goes back to when I ran for city council 8 years ago, my 4 years as a council member, my 4 years as a mayor. I attend multiple economic development meetings, particularly with our city manager, Rachel Skaggs. I'm involved with 3 community vision workshops that we held a couple of years ago, and with the Main Street Revitalization Committee, the committee that has spurred so much that has happened in the last couple of years. I regularly attend the chamber after hours events. I attend ribbon cuttings, all in support of our local business, and I'm a board member of the Down on Main Street Concert Committee. So, you know, I could stand up here, I think Princeton's doing very well, and I could stand up here and take credit for where we are today as a community, but that would be insincere. You know, the truth of the matter is we have an outstanding team of dedicated city employees who are in the right positions at the right time. In the past 4 years, we have seen changes in department head positions in streets, electric, tourism, and our police department. Along with our fire, water, and sanitary departments, we have in place a team that is committed to Princeton's future as a progressive and growing community. And we see the benefit of their leadership in the city services that we provide 24/7, 365. And it all starts at the top with the one person who has solidified and professionalized the management of our town, and that person is our city manager, Rachel Skaggs. I can't say enough about the job that Rachel has done when she started with us 3.5 years ago. Suffice to say, we are very fortunate to have her working for us. When I ran for mayor 4 years ago, I had a vision for Princeton, and it remains in place today. That vision is progress with tourism at the center of what we do. Bringing people to Princeton, bringing them time and again. It's all about making Princeton a destination, and I think that's occurring. I felt so strongly about tourism that after I was elected mayor, but before I was sworn in, I eliminated the tourism position at City Hall and I moved it to the Prouty building and essentially threw it in Kim Fry's lap. Aside from hiring Rachel, making Kim our tourism director is, in my opinion, the 2 best moves we've made since I've been mayor. And it's working. Had I not made that move, had Kim not taken on tourism, we would not today be putting on 6 street concerts a year. We would not be airing commercials in the Quad Cities, which has resulted in many consistent visitors from the western part of the state. And we would not have gone through rebranding, and Princeton would not be marketed as a tourist destination as is being done today. And I'll add that going forward, this year, we hope to expand our airing commercials to the Peoria market, and within the next couple of years to the southwest suburbs. I hear from residents from time to time asking why they don't hear about the city cutting spending. You know, we always talk about spending money, but what about cutting spending? With Rachel's management of our town and our due diligence in positioning Princeton for the future, in the past 4 years, we have reduced city spending in several ways, leading to significant savings. First, we implemented a new phone system at a savings of $19,000 a year. We are saving $60,000 a year after bringing tree trimming in-house. We changed insurance companies, and in doing so, we have reduced insurance premium costs that the city is responsible for by $200,000 a year. We have reduced through attrition the number of city employees, going from 79 4 years ago to 72 today, saving the city hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in salary and benefits. We hired a new engineering firm mandated by the EPA concerning the city's old landfill, a savings of $30,000 a year. And we sold the transfer station, eliminating our responsibility in maintenance of that facility. We sold the station for $2.5 million, which enabled us to begin replenishing the city's reserves. And we're not done, as our due diligence in this area never ends. And our Main Street, the businesses that have been here for years and those who have opened in recent times, those who have upgraded their facades, has transformed the look and feel of our town, has re-energized our community. The city joined in by replacing and repositioning and adding benches and chairs and new trash cans to the south end. We paved a parking lot at the north end and repaved one at the south, and we added landscaping to both. We brought trees back to Main Street, a project largely funded by individuals and businesses. And this fall is my goal to have trees planted at the North End Business District. And Darius Miller Park finally underwent a significant and much needed facelift. It is now a traditional town park. And you'll soon be seeing new blade signs up and down Main Street. A project Commissioner Jerry Newman brought to Kim to add to the enhancement of our uptown and downtown business districts. And we have new businesses on the horizon, so stay tuned in the months to come. And we'll soon see a National Register tourism signs erected on Interstate 80. It's a benefit of having our north and south end business districts added to the national list of historic places. So much of what we're doing as a community is driven by volunteers. They are a part of the incredible team we've established that is part of our efforts to improve Princeton on many fronts. Many of you remember a couple of years ago we held community vision workshops. Out of those workshops came the Main Street Revitalization Committee, and from that committee came the Main Street Revitalization Plan. From that plan sprouted 4 new city commissions: our Bicycle Pedestrian Committee, our Public Arts Committee, our Historic Preservation Committee, and our Main Street Concert Committee, all of which are active and from whom you will soon hear of much progress. And our newest committee is our Business Development Committee, which is a byproduct of the Economic Development Summits held at the ACE Distribution Centers the past couple of years. It is a joint venture with the city, joining the chamber in their journey in marketing Princeton in business recruitment and development, and in business retention and expansion. This new committee will provide our community and its businesses with added support with the goal of sustainability, growth, and ongoing success. All these committees are run by volunteers, committed members of our community who are taking the lead in making Princeton the best it can be. Just a short word on our proposed sports complex. Everything is moving forward as it should and as planned. It is a large, privately funded project that, when complete, will be a game changer for the city of Princeton. Princeton has been known for decades as the city where tradition meets progress, and that's never changed. I am forever an optimist when it comes to our town and in the direction that we're headed. Thank you.
Something else on for this one? Is there a second one?
Is there a button on the bottom, or?
There is. I'll speak loudly. I think there's another button I need to press. There you go. Your answers are more important than my questions. We'll ask the 5 questions that we did present to the candidates so they could prepare for their responses to this. The first one is, what is different in Princeton now in contrast to when you ran for office previously? And you start, since Ray started the comments. Yes.
Well, a lot of what is different I just went through in my opening statement. However, you know, I've always talked about Princeton. We have a lot of optimism in this town. That optimism has been sustained, and that optimism is what is driving the momentum that we have. Everybody wants to be a part of what's going on in Princeton, and we hear it from people outside of town, you know, from distances away. Pekin, Peoria area. I mean, it's really exciting to see what's happening in Main Street, and you really don't have to look any further than the vibrancy of our Main Street. You know, I tell people all the time that our Main Street has not been as vibrant since the 1970s, and I think that's very, very true. Another thing that I kind of mentioned in my opening, but you know, I've always been a believer in tourism. You know, bringing people to Princeton and bringing them back time and again, and giving them a reason to come back. And that's why we've done with the benches and the chairs and the new trash cans and the landscaping and the trees on Main Street, and renovating Darius Miller Park. You know, and then all the merchants buy into what we're doing, and you know, and they're opening our new stores, and a lot of the business owners, the building owners are updating their facades, and if there's a carryover effect, because you're even seeing businesses that have been on Main Street, for Anderson Mozart, for instance, been on Main Street for decades, and what have they done? They refurbished the facade of their building. So there's a carryover, and it's an exciting time in Princeton. The commercials that we're airing in the Quad Cities, it's amazing. If you go in and talk to the owners of the boutiques and the shops on Main Street, and you ask them, you know, what are these commercials doing for us? Well, they're going to tell you the story, and they are seeing a lot of traffic, consistent traffic, time and again, coming over from the Quad Cities, from Galesburg, from Geneseo. And when we expand that commercials to the Peoria area, we're going to be entering a whole new market, and in a couple of years, the southwest suburbs. And the southwest suburbs is an interesting component, because we'll be able to utilize Amtrak and overnight stays because of all the Amtrak traffic that goes back and forth between Princeton and Naperville. The rebranding that we went through with the city of Princeton and tourism, new tagline, new logo. One thing that I did not mention, but that really is a marked difference, is a significant achievement, is that from the city side, when I took office 4 years ago, our long-term debt stood at $42 million. Today's at $28 million. It's down to $14 million in 4 years' time. We need to get that debt level into a manageable area so we can address a lot of the other concerns we have with our infrastructure. We have miles and miles and miles of streets in Princeton that have no curb, gutter, or storm sewers. That adds to the flooding issues. We get our debt down levels to the the $10 to $15 million range, we'll be able to address those issues. So another $14 million and we'll be there. So it's a goal that we've got, it's a goal that it's attainable, and it's a goal that we're achievable.
Thank you, Jim. Ray?
Differences in Princeton now and how it used to be. There seems to be a lot, and a lot of the changes are within the entire world. I mean, we're seeing big box stores disappearing with the online sales, which is offering more of the boutique type stores and smaller businesses within our main street, which is very true, like the mayor said. With those businesses, some are surviving, some are not. We still keep seeing the changeover of businesses, and there's been several in the last year. Other things that have changed, of course, the trees, the garbage cans, the park benches. We're also seeing a change in the city employees. Some of our long-term employees that we've had are beginning to retire, and we're getting a younger workforce. And it's a challenge to have a younger workforce with the experience level that we've had in the past. So there needs to be more of a process with the training of the younger generation when they're coming in. They might not have the concrete experience that some of our past employees had, or the experience with the heavy equipment. So those are all big changes for the city and what kind of services we can provide. Back to the small businesses, once again, it's also a change in the amount of tax money that we get, because with the smaller businesses, it's a much smaller scale of sales. So probably some of our bigger sales in towns come from the car lots or still Walmart. But the creativity that's out there in Princeton now, a lot of the entrepreneurs are a younger generation that's coming forward and taking risks and taking chances by opening these stores. And that's why it's so important to have these incentives there, such as the revolving loan fund, and then the possible facade grant program that I had introduced several years ago, which hopefully one day we can finally have the funding to put intact.
Thank you, Ray. You'll start the next question. So you might go ahead. You'll get started.
Oh.
All right. The next question. What issues that the city is facing are your biggest concerns?
One of the issues is the amounts of roads that need replaced and the lack of money we have to use towards them. The extreme weather we seem to face in Illinois, from negative 40 to above 40 in a matter of a week, it's really causing a lot of ground movement, which really is devastating to our roads and pulverizing them. We really have to prioritize our projects when we do a project, and we have money earmarked for a project, and make sure we do it right, so we're getting the biggest bang for our buck and that these projects are lasting. All the various tax increases we have locally and on the state level, this is very damaging and is a real concern to how the state is pushing communities to do this. People are becoming taxed out. It is affecting economic growth in our population, with more and more people relocating to other states out of Illinois. That's another major concern. Economic development on all levels. As a council, we all need to be informed from the beginning when we have potential development projects. That way we can be all on the same page for the development, eliminating misunderstandings that cause delays. Communication and involvement is really big here. Maybe it's going to take more meetings, maybe just more communication in general from the start. That's all I had.
I have two items. You know, it was the main issue for me is, and it was true 8 years ago. It's true 4 years ago, and it's true today. And that's our infrastructure. You know, our infrastructure, streets, curbs, gutters, storm sewers, sanitary sewers, it is a problem throughout town. However, on that front, we do have a lot going for us going forward. As Rachel mentioned earlier, this spring, the Euclid Avenue project is going to finally, after 7 years, is finally going to begin. We will also begin our residential sanitary sewer replacement project, which is, again, largely funded by a federal block grant. Sanitary sewer mains will be replaced for many residents along Pleasant First and Main Street between Central and Clark Street. That is going to start in June. Is this on? No. I think the battery's
Did the
dead.
battery go in? All right, well, try that.
I'll speak. No. Anything? 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 Okay. Let me start over. No. Good. We will also be finishing the Miles Court sanitary and storm sewer and street rebuild this year. So these are three very large infrastructure projects that will be done this year, all very long overdue. And this may be only the beginning of the large infrastructure projects. As you heard from Rachel, we have our 0.25% sales